No.
Put somebody on the other side too, so we look. Come on over.
I wore like trying to coordinate
Get you.
my colors. I should have worn red or something.
Okay, so everybody's here, so we'll be ready whenever you guys are. Sorry for the delay here for a few minutes.
Sorry for Kelly.
That's all right. We good? Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for joining us. I'm joined up here up front with Under Sheriff Rago, Chief Evelyn from the Geneva Police Department, and First Assistant District Attorney Kelly Wolford. So I just want to, this has been covered, but I do want to give a brief update synopsis that the Sheriff's Office was contacted in June of 2023 by current Geneva American Legion Commander AJ Frado. This was concerning irregularities in the bank records going back nearly 10 years regarding transactions that were documented and many that appeared to be missing. This Commander Frado discovered this shortly after he took over the commandership in 2023. During the time in question, Dale Mosier was the commander and sole controller of the organization's finances. The Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigation Division commenced a very thorough and comprehensive investigation into the financial records of the American Legion. As a result of this, in April of 2024, Mr. Dale Mosier was charged with grand larceny in the second degree, a Class C felony. That was, we were able to determine probable cause that he had stolen in excess of $92,000 from the American Legion between 2018 and May of 2023. Following his arraignment on this charge, Mr. Mosier was released on his own recognizance. He was formally indicted on this charge, and that was announced on April 1st of this year. Mr. Mosier had been attending all of his scheduled court appearances through this time until last month, when he failed to appear for a scheduled court appearance on September 18th. His case was set for trial this month. Following the missed appearance, the court issued a bench warrant for Mr. Mosier. Since then, the Ontario County Sheriff's Office's warrant unit has worked tirelessly to locate and apprehend Mr. Mosier. Investigation revealed that in late September, Mr. Mosier visited a relative in Tennessee for several days. When he departed this visit, he obtained the relative's Jeep and left his Chevrolet Impala behind in Tennessee. For the last 2 weeks, we were receiving reliable intelligence that Mr. Mosier was in Pennsylvania, moving around between the Harrisburg and Gettysburg areas. I want to point out that during this time, 3 victims now from Geneva, 2 from the city and 1 who resides in the town, received letters that were very threatening, and 2 of the people's lives were threatened. 2 of the 3 people are witnesses in the case against Mr. Mosier. The 3rd is a relative. All of these letters were postmarked and processed in the mail facility in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Obviously, this ratcheted up our concern and the public safety threat in our urgency to get Mr. Mosier into custody. Over the weekend, we developed credible information that Mr. Mosier remained in central Pennsylvania in the area of a rest stop near Hemlock Township. Shortly after 2:30 p.m. yesterday afternoon, Mr. Mosier was taken into custody without incident by the Hemlock Township Police Department. He was attempting to enter a Walmart parking lot at 100 Lunger Drive in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. As of right now, he remains in the custody of the Columbia County Prison pending extradition proceedings. At the time of his apprehension, Mr. Mosier was operating the 2018 Jeep Renegade that he had taken from the relative in Tennessee, and the Tennessee plates were off of the vehicle and there were North Carolina plates on it. I want to personally thank the members of the public. There are many out there who provided us with crucial information in locating Mr. Mosier. And I also want to thank our law enforcement partners from across 3 states who worked cooperatively with us in this manhunt. Specifically, I want to mention the Geneva Police Department, the Ontario County District Attorney's Office, the United States Marshal's Office in Rochester, specifically U.S. Marshal Charles Salina, the Washington County, Tennessee Sheriff's Office, Pennsylvania State Police, Hemlock Township, Pennsylvania Police Department, and the U.S. Postal Inspectors. I want to commend the members of the Ontario County Sheriff's Office Warrant Unit, and I will name them: Sergeant Seth Jones, Deputies Patrick Fitzgerald, Stenik Chumacero, and Brian Garman. They have worked this case 24/7 since Mr. Mosier fled our area. They conducted multiple interviews, searched numerous locations locally, and coordinated the efforts with our law enforcement partners in Tennessee and Pennsylvania. The joint efforts of so many are why Mr. Mosier is in custody this morning. As I said upon Mr. Mosier's arrest, the American Legion exists to support veterans and our youth. Their members work extremely hard to raise the funds needed to support the programs that benefit these 2 groups. Mr. Mosier's violation of this trust caused tremendous harm to the American Legion community, and they deserve closure so that they can move forward, which they've already begun to do under the leadership of Commander Frado. We are hopeful that the apprehension of Mr. Mosier is another step forward in a positive direction for the Legion. With that, we'll take questions. Christian. Luis.
Are there going to be other charges in connection with these threats?
Potentially, yep. That remains under investigation, and that's being pursued both at the state level and by the U.S. Postal Inspectors.
Kendra Simpson with News 8. Was he in collaboration with anyone during the larceny?
Not that we were able, the larceny charges are against him only. Christian.
I've seen some specific amounts, like 92,000 XYZ.
638 maybe.
Yeah, along those lines. How do we arrive at that? This was bit by bit, right? Cash by cash, check by check. I mean, this must have been exhaustive, extensive to arrive at a number like that.
It was a 10-month grueling investigation into bank records, transaction receipts, surveillance video that was compiled by investigator Doug Smith from our criminal investigation division, who has since retired, but will be a key witness in this case. And we had those numbers verified by the New York State Police Financial Crimes Unit as well.
Do we know what he was spending that money on?
We have a good idea, but I'm going to let that play out in the court process at his trial.
And is there any way for the American Legion to recoup that money in the future?
The American Legion, I am told, and Commander Frado is here with us, and he can probably speak more specifically to this later, but it's my understanding that they have received the majority of that through an insurance payment.
You touched on this a bit, sir, but there's a certain segment, I would argue a large segment of the population who looks up to people who are veterans, people who are in uniform. They look at the American Legion as something that's a cornerstone of every community. This really has to sting and be a disappointment, does it not?
Very much so. You know, as I said in last year when we made the arrest, Mr. Mosier was entrusted not only to run the organization, but also with the finances, and he was a bully, straight up. I mean, that's why so many people were afraid to confront him. People suspected that he was up to no good for years. It was, you know, I'll tell you, it was rumored around, this is my community too, it was rumored around the community for 15 years. It took, finally, they had had enough, and AJ stood up to it and ran against him. And when he got the leadership, there was this immediate hesitation to turn over the bank books. Things were missing. I mean, so the Legion community knew right away that this wasn't good. But 99.9% of their members, really, you remove him from the mix and everybody does the right thing and works so cohesively with the community to do the right thing and support our veterans. And this place is just moving forward in such a better direction with him out of the mix. Now, hopefully we can hang on to him until he faces his charges. Long overdue.
Now, I just to clarify, you said that there were 2 lives threatened who were witnesses. Did Mosher reach out to these people through?
The letters. We believe he authored the letters. Now, we haven't charged him with that yet. That's still technically under investigation, but at the same time that we were getting intelligence that he was in Pennsylvania, in central Pennsylvania near Harrisburg, these letters were mailed from Harrisburg with death threats and specific, the letters communicate specifically part of them about this case. So I'm pretty confident, yeah.
Did he identify himself in those letters?
No.
How are you able to, sorry, just to clarify, how are you able to connect those letters to Mosher?
By what he was saying to the people they were addressed to. It was all specific to things that would be between him and the person that the letter was penned to.
Did you write like Julius Caesar in the third person?
In parts of it,
Were they handwritten or typed?
handwritten.
Now, he was staying with a relative in Tennessee. Did the relative reach out to you guys, or could he be
Nope.
charged with harboring a fugitive?
So that is up to the sheriff's office in Tennessee. And they left it with her that they were not going to charge her for what she had done prior. But after they had been there and put her on notice that they knew he was there, she gave him aid in terms of the vehicle, let him leave his vehicle there. She was put on notice that if she continued to provide any further assistance, she would be charged. We don't have any information that she provided any assistance to him after she was put on notice.
Was he living at the rest stop in Pennsylvania?
Yep, right out of the car. Yep.
Will he be held without bail now?
I'm going to let Kelly answer that. Yep.
I'm Kelly Wolford from the District Attorney's Office. With respect to an individual who takes off from court and a bench warrant's issued in the state of New York, but he's arrested in another state, there's extradition proceedings that have to take place. He is entitled to have a judge in Pennsylvania arraign him, and there's a potential that that judge could set bail. Whether or not that occurs is going to totally depend on what happens down in Pennsylvania. Once he is returned to this state, then the judge here, who is scheduled to hear his case starting on November 10th of 2025, as far as the trial, can determine whether or not she sets bail. That judge is the one that issued the warrant here. The next step in the proceeding would be to determine whether or not he waives extradition and voluntarily returns to the state. If he fights extradition, then we'd have to obtain a governor's warrant and have him return to the state against his will.
I think you had another question? 10?
I did. That was good questions, and I'm a little.
Follow up with Kelly?
I don't know.
Okay, all right.
Absolutely.
Actually, I was going to ask, we know the relationship between the relative, between Mosher and that relative in Tennessee.
We do. It was his sister.
And regarding the extradition process, you said he could voluntarily elect to return to New York. I misunderstood if he waives that, can you explain that again?
Sure. You have a right to have the governor issue a warrant to return you to the state, which would be our application to Governor Hochul to petition the governor of Pennsylvania to force this individual back to New York State. He can waive that process and agree to return. So you can waive a governor's warrant and return, and we call it waiving extradition. But it means that he will come back here in custody. Does that make sense? Okay.
So you wouldn't just be in that Jeep again driving up here?
No, I mean, that's not unheard of, that a judge would sometimes release somebody on bail and tell them that they have to return to the demanding state. We're just hopeful that that doesn't happen in this case. I think we tend to see it going the other way with some of New York's bail reform. We sometimes see a release of a fugitive in New York that's wanted in a different state, but it tends to not happen going the other way.
So if he comes back voluntarily and waives extradition, he will come back in custody and will remain in custody?
He gets to go before Judge Argento, who has his case, and Judge Argento has to make a decision whether she will set bail at any amount of money. Given the situation, obviously, I'm going to be requesting that if she's inclined to set bail at all, that the bail be in an extremely high amount. The amount of effort that you have already heard that went into bringing him into custody in Pennsylvania. That will all be laid out in front of Judge Argento. And hopefully she will listen to that information. It is a case where he can get bail. There are times when people can't, but even under these circumstances, we're going to be asking for extremely high bail when he's returned.
For full clarity, Sheriff, was the letter to his sister also a death threat?
No, so just to clarify, 3 letters, 2 to witnesses, 1 to a relative. The relative who received the letter was not his sister.
Oh,
His sister is the relative in Tennessee that provided aid in the form of the vehicle that he used to leave Tennessee and go to Pennsylvania.
Can you tell us why exactly you would send a death threat to the relative?
I can't speak to whatever motive is going on inside of his head, but, you know, I could speculate, but I really don't want to do that. I don't know why he does what he does, but I'm just glad he's in custody.
Were the letters need to be turned over to your department?
2 went to the Geneva Police Department because 2 of the victims live in the city, 1 lives in the town, and all 3 victims called law enforcement immediately, yes. Anything else?
There's 2 that I have left, but one is clarification, the question, clarification on the timeline. There's some mixed reporting. I think you just said it was 2018. No. If you can clarify the timeline
Yes.
as well as the amount, there seemed totally different numbers there.
Yeah, I'll let Kelly speak about the timeline.
Okay.
Different.
There are different timelines in part because what we were able to prove with bank records and going back in time, we were only able to get bank records back to 2018. Okay, so we have bank records from 2018 forward, and there's a slight deviation at the top end of what the amount was. Some of the forensic accounting has brought us over $100,000. But I would like it to be clear, 2018 was the beginning of what we were able to prove. It is not in any way what we think is the beginning of when this started.
Right.
So what he was able to do prior to that date, we do not have any evidence of, unfortunately.
Is there any possibility that you could get evidence in the near future about that?
No, it's just with the way bank records are that I know investigator Doug Smith went back as far as he possibly could in getting bank records, and that was the farthest back we could get.
So, okay, so in reporting, those bank records were not available, not that they were missing or.
Correct.
The records were.
Correct. So when we prosecute a case and when the sheriff's office was investigating this case, they got the records directly from the banks themselves. We were not relying on Legion like statements that you might get in the mail. We were relying on the bank records themselves, and banks only kept the transaction data going back to 2018.
So final clarification on that. Forensic accounting says it was over 100,000, but the bank records indicate only 92,000.
Not exactly. The total amount that we believe that we're able to prove is just over $100,000. The original amount, the 92,000, was a combination of the forensic accounting done by the Legion and the review by the New York State Police. The difference is since the New York State Police did their review, we were able to determine some additional things that they didn't know before we went to grand jury.
Okay, perfect. Can you speak at all to the precedent for a case like this? Someone who's already been indicted, they were ready to go to trial, and then leaves the state.
Right. So, from the prosecution's perspective, this happens on occasion. It's sort of rare that it would happen at this point in the prosecution. He'd appeared at every court appearance. There had been times during this case that we had heard that maybe he had left town, but he ended up showing up at the next court date. And until he failed to appear, we can't do anything to keep him here except for tell him he needs to appear. But I will have to say, Judge Argento, as soon as he did not appear on the 18th as directed, A bench warrant was issued that day, and I have to thank the sheriff's office and everybody that cooperated with them, because immediately they were looking for Mr. Mosier. And I can't say that that happens in every case in every jurisdiction. We're lucky to have them, and we're lucky that they put the amount of time and effort that they did into trying to find Mr. Mosier, even before the threat started.
Will we get to hear from Representative?
Yep, AJ's here, the commander. Yep.
Really quick, what's the next step in Pennsylvania?
Oh, so he should have a court date either today or sometime this week in Pennsylvania, where he's arraigned in front of a superior court judge on the fugitive information. Once he's arraigned down in Pennsylvania, he has an option of waiving extradition and coming back voluntarily, or not waiving. And if he doesn't waive, then what Pennsylvania does is notify us, the district attorney's office, and we start the paperwork to get the governor to sign a warrant of extradition, and then that will go down to Pennsylvania. So that process is a little longer. If he waives extradition, some of the sheriff's good men and women will go down and grab him in Pennsylvania and transport him back. Ultimately, that's what will happen regardless. It just may take longer if he chooses not to waive.
Just to follow up on a point that Kelly made, while we're able to bring charges for theft going back to 2018, Mr. Mosier was in a leadership role at the Legion for 20 years. So think about what the magnitude of loss at his hands.
As commander?
Mm-hmm. On and off, but mostly on. All right, thank you, everyone. We're here if you have other questions off camera that come up afterwards, and AJ's more than happy to speak with you all as well. So thank you for coming down and covering it. And again, our thanks to the community, many who reached out with tips that were helpful, and to our law enforcement partners across New York, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. So thankful to be here today with this resolution.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah.